Hello all, welcome to my channel once again. So I was on the eyeball and this is the part 2 of the eye. So in the ophthalmology, here I was explaining you about the eyeball. So as you can see, the layers of the eyeball, the outer layer consists of the cornea and the sclera, okay, as mentioned here. This forms the outer coat or the fibrous coat. Then the middle layer consists of the iris, ciliary body and the choroid and forms the middle vascular coat or also known as the uveal tract. Okay. Then comes this yellow colored retina, also known as inner nervous layer. Okay, so three layers I will explain you with the help of a flow chart also. That is why I am making this second part. Okay, now the area between the pupils, as you can see, as you can well appreciate, the area between the pupil is known the area between the iris is known as the pupil. Okay, so that hollow area through which you see when you just stare at someone's eyes, then the blackest part, the very blackest part within the center, one is the outer part black, then within that black part you can see another black part. Okay, in some people that appears as white due to the development of the cataract and mainly seen in the older ages people. Okay. Hmm. Now I will explain something that the junction between the cornea and the sclera is known as the limbus. So limbus is the corneoscleral junction. Okay, corneoscleral junction. Okay, this is the lens. In a very detail we will go later, but for now this is the thing that you have to develop from the basic. Okay, if at once I will explain you all the things, then you will not be able to grasp these things. Okay, so we will go step by step, eas- easily and slowly. Okay, and we'll be able to complete each and everything. So now you must clear this doubt. Okay, this is the thing to focus. This is the anterior chamber. The area in front of the iris is known as the anterior chamber, while the area at the region behind the iris but in front of the lens is known as the posterior chamber. Always keep in your mind this. Many students are confused of these things only, that what is the anterior chamber, what is the posterior chamber. Yeah, it appears to be silly thing, but the many of the students I have seen through my MBBS course, that many of the students in my, even in my class also, they were confused about these things. Many of the juniors asked from me that, sir, what is anterior chamber, what is posterior chamber, what is difference between these two chambers, है ना? So this is the anterior chamber, the area in front of the iris and between the posterior wall of the cornea. ठीक है, while the area in front of the lens and in the posterior aspect of the iris is known as the posterior chamber. So this is anterior chamber, this is posterior chamber as mentioned here. Now these both chambers combinedly are known as the anterior segment, that is the area in front of the lens. The area in front of the lens consists of the posterior and the anterior chamber. So the area in front of the lens with the posterior and anterior chamber combinedly form the anterior segment, while the area behind or posterior to the lens is known as the posterior segment. This posterior segment consists of the vitreous humor, while the anterior segment consists of the aqueous humor. Yes, so anterior segment means posterior chamber and anterior chamber. So both these chambers will consist of the aqueous humor. Now how this aqueous humor is formed, we will discuss it later in a while. Okay, so now let me explain it with the help of the flow chart also. Now earlier I have explained you the main things to focus here. Eyeball, oblate spheroid in shape. Earlier also I have explained you in a great detail, है ना, oblate spheroid, that why it is known as the oblate spheroid, why not spherical, why not circular, why not round, such type of silly things. ठीक है, I have explained you these all things. These seems to be silly, but once if these become clear, then these forms your basic fundamental basic concept in the subject. Okay, these are the things that you have to consider. The people usually just don't look at these things, but these are the things to consider. Okay, 6 ml volume, 24.5 mm, 24 mm and 23.5 mm is the dimension of the eyeball in the axial length, transverse length and the vertical length respectively. Axial length is 24.5 mm, transverse length is 24 mm and the vertical length is 23.5 mm. Okay. Now the coatings, the layers, see, okay, outer, middle and the inner. So outer fibrous coat, outer is outer layer, you can say it outer layer or fibrous coat. Okay, so I have just combined these two words, okay, and made it simple for you. Okay, so outer fibrous coat consists of sclera, as you can well appreciate from this diagram. Sclera, area behind the limbus, the cornea, okay, area which is transparent, the blackest area which you see in your eye is the cornea, while the whitest area or the white opaque area which you see in your eye is the sclera, and the junction between these two is known as the limbus. The limbus itself has much of importance, okay, that is why I'm just telling you this point that this is the limbus, because many of the pathologies are associated with the limbus, many of the investigations are associated with the limbus. Pathologies like pterygium is associated with the limbus, okay, winged shaped hoti hai jo, and the pathologies, the particular type of cells, the stem cells which are present in the limbus, namely ABCG2, okay, and the common is the CD34. These all I will explain you later, okay. And this is the sclera, the white portion, white opaque portion which you see, okay. So this is sclera, cornea and the limbus in the outer coat, outer fibrous coat. Now the middle vascular coat, this is the vascular region, that is why I have just depicted it with the red color, okay, also known as the uveal tract. Now this consists of the iris. Now where is the iris? Yes, this finger like structure is the iris. This is the diagram which I have drawn very peculiar for you, okay. Now next comes the ciliary body. Now what you will see in the ciliary body, that the ciliary body, what is this, where is the ciliary body? The region which I am coloring with highlighter, or I am highlighting, is the ciliary body, okay. Now you can well appreciate the ciliary body. Now you can see that the ciliary body consists of this part and this part. This is quite plain part and this is a non-planar part. So the part which lies anteriorly and which is not plain is known as the pars plicata, and the part which lies posteriorly and which is relatively plain is known as the pars plana. So the ciliary body is divided into pars plicata and the pars plana, okay, pars plicata and the pars plana. Now the thing to consider here is that why it is plicated, why it is not plain. It is because it consists of the ciliary processes which are around 200 to 300 in number, okay. Ciliary processes, the ciliary processes secrete the aqueous humor, okay, as I have earlier explained you this aqueous humor, vitreous humor in the vitreous body, aqueous humor in the aqueous, that is in the anterior chamber, okay. Anterior chamber में aqueous humor है, posterior chamber में, sorry, anterior segment में, see, this is the thing, that is why I was just giving you an example, got it? Yes. So anterior chamber में aqueous humor is present, in the posterior chamber also aqueous humor is present, but in the posterior segment vitreous humor is present. So in the NEET PG also they may ask the question, or they have asked in the previous years also, that where the aqueous humor is present in, they have given the options in the anterior chamber, posterior chamber, anterior segment and the posterior segment. Now what is the best answer? Best answer is the anterior segment, but many of the students just mark the anterior chamber, and those who are confused, they just didn't get, okay, it. And so the best answer is the anterior chamber. Now students will say that the anterior chamber was also the answer, but what is the best answer? You have to choose the best amongst all the possible criterias which you have, okay. This is the field of doctor, you are becoming a doctor, so you have to choose the best from these, okay. So best is the anterior segment because it consists of the anterior chamber and the posterior chamber both, okay, while the posterior segment consists of the vitreous humor. So this is it, which is secreted from the pars plicata due to the ciliary processes present in it. Now the third part behind this, That is the reason from where the retina starts is known as the choroid. In this region where retina is not present is the pars plana region of the ciliary body. The where plica are present, where the ciliary processes are present, is known as the pars plicata region of the ciliary body, and this is the iris. Okay. Now, yes, this consists of the ciliary muscle. That is why it is helping in accommodation of the eye. I will explain you this later. Okay. So pars plicata, pars plana. Now next to it is the inner nervous layer, consists of the 10 layer known as the retina, and it itself, this retina itself consists of the 10 layers. Could be learned by the mnemonic INGIOEP whole twist. Okay, so I am explaining you these layers from inside to outside, that is from anterior to posterior side. Now you will see that anterior it is inner and the posterior is outer in case of retina. Let me just depict it with this. Yes, so this is anterior but inner, this is posterior but outer. So I will always explain you things in this direction. Okay, now so from inner side to outer side I am explaining you, or from anterior to posterior. Okay, so see the layers in the retina are the 10 layers, namely inner limiting membrane, nerve fiber layer, ganglionic cell layer, inner plexiform layer, inner nuclear layer, outer plexiform layer, outer nuclear layer, external limiting membrane, photoreceptor layer, and the pigmentum epithelium. Could be remembered by the mnemonic INGIOEP holders, and you have to remember it by heart. The layers, the 10 layers of the retina are much important, because you have to read the retinopathy, the chapter in the ophthalmology. That there it comes out to be very helpful if the person knows his 10 layers: inner limiting membrane, nerve fiber layer, ganglionic cell layer, inner plexiform layer, okay, inner nuclear layer, outer plexiform layer, outer nuclear layer, external limiting membrane, photoreceptor layer. Photoreceptor layer consists of rods and cones, and the pigmentum epithelium, also known as the retinal pigmentum epithelium. Okay, so this is it. Now in the next video I will explain it further.